The courtroom was loud before Judge Judy even walked in. A teenager in an expensive designer hoodie leaned back in his chair like he owned the room. His father sat beside him with folded arms and a smug expression that irritated nearly everyone watching. Across the courtroom sat a nervous waiter, holding a stack of receipts in trembling hands. And somehow, that quiet man looked more terrified than the teenager accused of destroying his car. The bailiff called the case. Daniel Ruiz versus Carter Whitmore. Judge Judy entered. The room immediately fell silent. But before she even sat down, she noticed something strange. The waiter looked exhausted. Not emotional, not angry, exhausted. Like someone who hadn't slept properly in days. Judge Judy narrowed her eyes. "Sir," she said to Daniel, "when was the last time you got a full night of sleep?" The courtroom shifted uncomfortably. Daniel hesitated. Maybe a week ago." The teenager laughed quietly under his breath. That was the first mistake. Judge Judy slowly turned toward him. "You find that funny?" The smirk disappeared instantly. Daniel swallowed hard and explained that he worked double shifts at a downtown restaurant. His car had been parked outside his apartment building when Carter crashed into it late at night. Not scratched, not dented, did. "It was totaled," Daniel said softly. Judge Judy looked toward the teenager. "Were you driving?" Carter shrugged casually. "Yeah, but it wasn't that serious." The courtroom reacted immediately. Judge Judy leaned forward. "Not that serious." Daniel quietly placed photos onto the evidence screen. The entire audience gasped. The car looked like it had been folded in half. Judge Judy stared at the images for several seconds. Then she looked back at Carter. "You call this not serious?" Before Carter could answer, his father jumped in. "My son made a mistake. Kids make mistakes." Judge Judy's expression changed instantly. "No," she said sharply. "Kids spill milk." This young man drove through another person's property. The audience murmured. Daniel explained the car was the only reason he could get to work. Public transportation didn't run after midnight, and his restaurant shifts often ended at 2 in the morning. Judge Judy listened carefully. "So what happened after the crash?" Daniel looked down. "That's the problem." His voice cracked slightly. "They drove away." The courtroom exploded with whispers. Judge Judy slowly removed her glasses. "Oh, now we're getting somewhere." Carter immediately sat upright. "We came back." Judge Judy snapped her head toward him. "When?" Silence, and for the first time since the case began, the teenager looked nervous. Judge Judy tapped her pen against the desk. "Let me understand this," she said. "You crashed into his parked car and left the scene?" Carter's father quickly interrupted again. "My son panicked." Judge Judy didn't even look at him. "I didn't ask you." The courtroom went silent again. Carter explained that he had borrowed his father's luxury SUV after a party with friends. He insisted he only looked at his phone for 1 second. Judge Judy raised an eyebrow. 1 second is all it takes." Daniel sat quietly while Carter described the accident like it was a minor inconvenience. But then Judge Judy noticed something else. No apology. Not once. She leaned back slowly. "You still haven't apologized to him." Carter looked confused. His father answered instead. "We're here because he's demanding unreasonable money." Judge Judy's patience visibly thinned. "How much are you suing for?" she asked Daniel. $11,400. The father laughed out loud. "For that piece of junk." The entire courtroom shifted. Judge Judy froze, and the expression on her face suddenly became dangerous. "That piece of junk got him to work every day," she said coldly. "That car mattered more to him than your SUV probably matters to you." Daniel quietly explained that after the crash, he had been forced to sleep inside the restaurant storage room twice because he had no way home after work. Now the courtroom felt different. He wasn't just suing over a car anymore. He was describing survival. Judge Judy looked directly at Carter. "Did you know that?" The teenager stared at the table. "No." Daniel finally looked up. "You never asked." That line hit the room hard. Even the audience became silent. Judge Judy sensed the emotional shift immediately. Then things got worse. Daniel revealed that security cameras captured Carter and his friends standing outside the wrecked car laughing before driving away. Judge Judy's eyes widened slightly. "You laughed." Carter shook his head quickly. "We were in shock." Judge Judy wasn't buying it. Shock doesn't usually look like smiling selfies. The courtroom reacted instantly. Daniel handed over printed screenshots. Carter and his friends were posing beside the destroyed vehicle. One picture even showed Carter making a peace sign. Judge Judy stared at the image in disbelief. Then she slowly looked toward the father. "You saw these before today?" The father hesitated. "Yes, and you still came in here acting like your son was the victim?" The tension became unbearable, but the father suddenly lost his composure. He works hard too, he snapped. Everyone keeps acting like my son's some criminal. Judge Judy fired back immediately. No. They're acting like he's irresponsible. The audience clapped softly before the bailiff silenced them. Daniel remained calm the entire time, and somehow, that made the story even more emotional. Judge Judy noticed it too. You're very controlled for someone who lost this much. Daniel gave a tired smile. I'm too busy trying to fix my life to scream about it. That line changed the entire courtroom atmosphere. Even Carter stopped looking arrogant. For the first time, he looked ashamed. But Judge Judy wasn't finished, because something still didn't make sense. If the father had already seen the evidence, why was he fighting so aggressively? And then Judge Judy asked one question that changed everything. Who paid for the SUV repairs? The father answered instantly, I did. Judge Judy nodded slowly. And who offered to help him? Silence. Bombled silence. Judge Judy looked toward Daniel. Did they offer you anything? Daniel shook his head. Not even a phone call. Judge Judy inhaled deeply. The courtroom could already feel what was coming next. But nobody expected how emotional it would become. Judge Judy folded her hands together. Then she looked directly at Carter. You know what bothers me most about this case? The teenager swallowed hard. You didn't act like someone who made a mistake. She paused. You acted like someone protected from consequences. The courtroom went completely silent. Carter's father immediately leaned forward. That's unfair. Judge Judy pointed toward the evidence. Photos. What's unfair is this man losing his transportation while your son took selfies beside the wreckage. Then Daniel quietly revealed something nobody in the courtroom expected. The car hadn't originally belonged to him. It belonged to his mother. The room instantly became still. Judge Judy softened slightly. She passed away 2 years ago, Daniel explained. It's the last thing I had from her. Even Carter looked stunned. Daniel explained that the car was old, but his mother worked for years to buy it before she became sick. After she died, he kept it running with overtime shifts and repair jobs because he couldn't afford another vehicle. That car got me through her funeral, he said quietly. Now even the audience looked emotional. Judge Judy removed her glasses slowly, and for the first time in the entire hearing, she looked genuinely heartbroken. Carter's father shifted uncomfortably. But Judge Judy noticed something else. Carter suddenly looked close to tears. She turned toward him carefully. Did your father tell you any of this? The teenager shook his head slowly. No. The father immediately defended himself. Because it's irrelevant, emotionally manipulative stuff. Judge Judy slammed the desk. No, the entire courtroom jumped. It matters because this young man treated another human being's life like garbage. The father went silent instantly. Judge Judy continued. People who struggle financially don't have backups. They don't call daddy for another car. The courtroom erupted again. Then came the moment nobody expected. Carter finally spoke honestly, quickly. I didn't know he was sleeping at work. Daniel looked toward him for the first time. Carter's voice cracked slightly. I swear, I didn't know. Judge Judy studied him carefully, and suddenly the courtroom tension shifted from anger into regret, but the father still refused to back down. He's being dramatic over an old car. Judge Judy turned sharply. No, you're minimizing damage because you can afford replacements. That line landed like a hammer. Then Judge Judy connected the final detail. The father had spent nearly $9,000 repairing his own SUV immediately after the accident, while offering Daniel nothing. That was the moment the courtroom fully turned against him. Judge Judy leaned back slowly. You fixed your luxury vehicle before helping the person your son harmed. The father had no response, none. And for the first time all day, Carter looked disappointed in his own father. Judge Judy noticed it immediately. That emotional fracture between them suddenly became the real story. Not the crash, not the money, but what happens when privilege destroys accountability. And everyone in the courtroom could feel it. Judge Judy looked down at her notes quietly. Then she delivered the words the entire courtroom had been waiting for. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. Daniel closed his eyes in relief. Judge Judy continued. You will pay the full damages requested. The father immediately protested. That's ridiculous. Judge Judy cut him off instantly. No. What's ridiculous is raising a child to believe empathy is optional. The courtroom became silent again. Carter stared downward. Judge Judy turned toward him one final time. You made a bad decision, she said firmly. But your worst mistake wasn't crashing the car. She pointed toward the evidence photos. It was leaving another human being behind like his life didn't matter. Carter nodded slowly, and then something unexpected happened. He stood up. The courtroom watched in silence as he turned toward Daniel. "I'm sorry, not forced, not defensive." Real Daniel looked surprised. Carter continued speaking. "I thought this was just about money." His voice trembled slightly. "I didn't think about what it actually did to you." Judge Judy stayed silent, because for once, she didn't need to say anything. The courtroom could already feel the moment. Daniel nodded quietly. "That's all I wanted you to understand." Even the father looked shaken now, but Judge Judy wasn't done with him. "You know," she said calmly, "kids learn accountability from somewhere." The father lowered his eyes, and suddenly the confident man who entered the courtroom earlier looked completely defeated. Judge Judy signed the judgment papers. Then she delivered the final line that nobody in the room would forget. "Money can replace a vehicle," she said, "but character decides whether you stop after the crash." The courtroom fell completely silent. Daniel picked up the photo of his mother's car one last time before leaving. Carter watched him walk away without saying another word, and Judge Judy quietly observed both of them, because deep down, she knew this case had never really been about property damage. It was about the moment someone finally realizes another person's struggle is real. And sometimes, that lesson costs far more than money.